Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hello and welcome to episode 144 of the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. My name is Tim Robertson. I'm the host of the Observer's Notebook and also the coordinator of the training program within the ALPO. Thanks for downloading and listening. Before I get into this week's podcast, I really want to reach out and thank all of the listeners who have stuck with this podcast for over the years. I really realized that we've just surpassed 5 years of recording and producing this podcast. And without your support, it would not exist. And I want to take this moment to also thank the Patreons that have given a little bit more to be a part of this podcast. They include Steve Seidentop, Michael Moyer, Jerry White, Jason Inman, Matt Will, Matthew Benton, Ken Poshedly, Stephen Bennett, Michael Moyer, Shawn Dilles, Frank Schenck, Damian Allis, Carl Hergenrother, and Bob Soltys. I really want to thank all of you for being a part of the podcast and supporting it in every way you have. Thank you very much. The ALPO collects and analyzes observations of various solar system bodies and associated phenomena and publishes detailed reports concerning these bodies in its quarterly publication, The Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. This podcast depends upon donations from you, our listeners, to keep it alive. If you enjoy what you hear on the podcast, you can donate to it via Patreon by giving as little as $1 a month. If you feel even more generous, for $5, you receive early access to the podcast before it goes public. For a monthly donation of $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you receive producer credits on the podcast. You can find out more by going to www.patreon.com/observersnotebook. And if you'd like to join the ALPO, membership begins at only $18 a year. For more information, find us at www.alpo-astronomy.org. And we are also on Facebook. Just search for ALPO Astronomy. And this podcast also has a Facebook page as well. Just search for Observer's Notebook. And if you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, please subscribe. That way you'll never miss another episode. And now, episode 144 with Ken Poshedly. And we're going to discuss the upcoming ALPO Virtual Convention. I'd like to welcome everybody back to this edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. Today we have, again, Ken Poshedly back on the podcast, and we're going to discuss the upcoming 2022 ALPO Virtual Conference. Welcome to the podcast, Ken.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, now we've chatted before on the podcast about past conferences, and this is, I think, the third time we've held them virtually.
I think so. Yeah. Yes, it is. And it's working out very well.
It really is. The board had discussions about doing an in-person conference this year, but with the COVID thing still running crazy and out here in California, it's kind of nuts. They're mandating masking again inside. So, things are still not back to what we like as normal. So,
well, if it isn't the fires, then it's the edge of the world that falls off with the earthquakes out there.
There you go. So going back to the conference, the dates for the conference will be Friday and Saturday, July 22nd and 23rd. And we're again going to hold it on Zoom, but it's also going to be simulcast at the same time on the ALPO YouTube channel. The links for everything is down below in the show notes if people are interested in finding out that type of thing.
That's right.
Now, do you want to talk a little bit about past conferences before we get into this one?
Well, just like all organizations, I think, whether they're professional organizations or avocational organizations or hobby organizations, the internet has really helped and hindered many, many groups. It's helped because now everybody has access to just about any kind of information they want. But to many people, it now takes away the desire to be with other people. So they don't feel the need to spend airfare, book a hotel room, go to a conference and pay for dinner when they can participate productively in a conference that's drawn people from around the world. So up until 3 years ago, the conferences were all in person, and our attendance had dwindled to, maybe 40, 50, 60 people, which is okay. And we had a really great time. But now, and Tim, you can fine tune this, but I think that since we started doing the conferences in Zoom, starting 3 years ago, this will be the third year, our attendance, and that means people who are observing the conference as well as people who are presenting any kind of talks, we're into the hundreds and hundreds. I forgot if it's 200 or 300 or is it more than that?
Yeah, it's ranges per day, but I think on average we're between 250 and 300 people at any one time on Zoom and the YouTube channel. So it's pretty exciting. In the past, all of our in-person conferences were also held with other organizations.
Many of them were.
Yeah.
I rejoined the ALPO in, I think it was about 1990. I had joined when I was very young in the early 60s, and I was just totally mesmerized by the drawings by Clark Chapman and so forth in the ALPO journal, the Lunar drawings and so forth. I dropped out in the mid 60s, but like I said, I rejoined about 1990, and I attended my first in-person conference in Greenville, South Carolina. I relocated from Cleveland, Ohio to Atlanta, Georgia in 1984 for work. I'm a technical writer. And in 94, I took the 2-hour drive up I-85 to Greenville and had a chance to meet with a whole great group of ALPO people and participated in watching the conferences and so forth and so on. And it was really, really great. But like you were saying, now we have people from all over the world watching this. So, the conference starts in the afternoon for those of us here in the Eastern time zone. I'm in Metro Atlanta. And I think it starts at, 10 a.m. for those of you out west of here in the Pacific time zone. And then you can figure it out the rest of the world.
Yeah, and that's what's been really nice. Our speakers also have been from Argentina and the UK and all over the world. So it's been kind of nice. They don't need to travel, and they are live with us during the conference, available for once they give their talks, they're available for questions and things as well. So it's really an international conference now.
This is true. And as I was starting to say, we did have conferences in conjunction with the Astronomical League, and we still do, but we also hold our own conferences. Those are the conferences, as I started to mention, where we'll draw about 40 or 50 or 60 people or something like that. But when it's with the AL itself, the attendance is obviously very, very much larger because there are other organizations that are also participating. So sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. This conference is going to be strictly with the ALPO itself.
Right. And with us celebrating our 75th anniversary, we're looking for great participation from not only our members, but the international community as well. And briefly, I'd like to go over our current speaker schedule. I still have like 3 open spots. I'm not too worried about filling them, but there are listeners out there that would like to present a paper. You need to be a member of the ALPO in order to do that. But so far we have Richard Schmuti, who's in charge of our Jupiter section and also the remote planet section. And one of his talks is on general photometric photometry, which is an interesting subject. And a lot of people are interested in that. And that ties into things like we're also doing with the exoplanet section. We also have
photometry. The study of photometry is really the study of the brightness of stars and planets and so forth. Really,
right.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk about how to do it, how an amateur can make measurements like that. Then we have Tony Cook from the UK, and from our lunar section, he's going to be giving a talk on the moon. Jim Tomney is doing some exciting work with the ALPO right now. Our entire website is being revamped and modernized. It will no longer be stuck in the 1985s. It's now going to be a real eye-catching and interactive website. So Jim's going to give everybody a heads up of what the ALPO website 2.0 looks like and how you can navigate it. Julius Benton is in charge of our Saturn and Venus sections. He's going to be giving a talk on Friday about recent observations of Saturn. Harrison Doan, a member at the ALPO, is giving a very interesting talk. I've seen his slides and it looks pretty interesting. It's an ideal method for determining the date and time using solar system objects.
Oh.
That should be pretty interesting. Richard Shmooty, again, is giving another talk about the current observations of Jupiter in 2021. And then on Saturday, some of the talks are David Teskey is giving a talk called Sailing the Sea of Clouds.
Ooh.
I'm going to leave that topic in the open, so hopefully some people are interested in that. Carl Hergenrother, our executive director, is going to be talking about observing comets and some recent observations. Rick Hill, our solar section coordinator, is giving a talk called Blinded by the Light, Early Solar Observing, where he reflects back on his early experiences of observing the sun.
Okay.
Julius Benton is going to be giving a talk on Saturday about observing Venus. Then Richard Shmooty comes back with a talk on remote planets for 2021 and 2022. Albert Unizotto from Argentina is going to give an interesting talk. Is visual observation of the moon still worthy?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be pretty interesting. And then we have, like I mentioned, 3 open slots, a couple on Friday and one on Saturday, where people can volunteer and give a 20-minute talk. We usually give 15-20 minutes for the talk and then 5 minutes for questions and answers afterward. And like Ken mentioned, the conference starts at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock Pacific, and it ends at 5 o'clock Eastern and 2 o'clock Pacific. On Friday, following the paper session, the ALPO will hold a board meeting, and all of the members are invited to attend if they're interested in attending the board meeting. There are going to be Zoom links available. If you contact me via email, and my email address is in the show notes, contact me via email and tell me you want to attend the conference, and I will put you on the mailing list. The Zoom links will be sent out the day before for the next day's conference. And if you're interested in the board meeting, put a request in for that too. That's going to be a separate Zoom link altogether. So that's for Friday. And then Saturday afternoon, we have our keynote address and door prizes. And Ken, why don't you talk about our keynote speaker?
Our featured speaker, which will be kicking off at 7 p.m. Eastern time, is going to be Chuck Wood, who is the guy that has it's called the Lunar Photo of the Day website. And even though it's the new instances of it have been discontinued, he's now posting repeats, and it's just as good as they were when it was new. Every day is a different feature. Many of them are images obtained by amateurs, and some of them are augmented by professional, satellite images and so forth. Chuck was the featured speaker in the mid-teens when we had the Astronomical League conference here in Metro Atlanta, and he spoke about his interest in the moon and how he got involved with it. And it was a real pep talk. And he's going to be talking this time, again, about how he got interested in the moon and why. But he's also going to be covering, his topic basically is going to be about lunar basins this time. And so, for about an hour, you'll have a chance to hear from Chuck Wood. He's got a lot of good professional credentials. You can look him up on the web. And He's a very dynamic speaker, and I can't speak highly enough about him.
Right. And also there will be a separate a Zoom link also sent out for that prior to it. And the key with joining us on Zoom, we're limited to 100 folks on Zoom that can join us. And the advantage of that is you can raise your hand and ask questions live. If you're watching on YouTube, I try to monitor the YouTube channel as the conference goes, but during the conference, I have a lot of balls in the air trying to juggle everything. So I can't always address all questions that are addressed on the YouTube channel. So the best way for you to interact with the speakers is definitely by going on the Zoom network. And the only way you can get that is by contacting me, sending me an email, and I will add you to the list for all of these Zoom links.
I'd like to say a few things here. One, you mentioned at the beginning, and we all know this, we've got 3 slots open. And those of our listeners who would like to participate with the talk, and by the way, the talks, we're only talking 15 minutes. So you've got 15 minutes to do hand shadows or to do maybe 10 minutes of a presentation and take questions for the next 5 minutes or so. But, we're talking about PowerPoint slides, which are really very, very common now. And the ALPO is dedicated to earthbound observations of the solar system. So if you out there have a need or a desire to talk about your particular setup, your observatory, your backyard setup, maybe the troubles and travails and problems that you've had to get past, and you are looking for help and you want to talk about what you're doing, or if you want to brag about some really great accomplishments that you have done with your equipment, whether it's imaging or just visual observing, you've got 15 minutes to kill. Now, of the 3 slots that are open, I wanted to ask Tim yourself, this is a good time for you to talk about a very valuable program for those of us in the ALPO who are not that well versed in it. You run the training program. We call it the Lunar and Planetary training program. Could you spend a minute or two talking about it and what you can cover if you do a presentation, what you could talk about then?
Yeah, I've always got that talk in my back pocket for these conferences in case we have a speaker that cancels out or we just don't fill all the spots. But basically, the ALPO training program is where we walk members through how to learn how to make better observations. And the key to making better observations is having your eye to the eyepiece. We don't focus on attaching the camera and taking images. There's no imaging involved with the training program. It is to make you a better, more proficient observer. And anyone that's been looking through a telescope for a number of years knows that the longer you look through the telescope, the better your observing eyes become. You see more and more detail as time goes on. And then we use the method of drawing the objects. You might, if you're a lunar observer, you'll start off drawing 1 or 2 craters over a period of time. There is no time limit in the training program. I've had some students finish it in 6 months. I've had some students take 3 years. But the end goal is to make you a more proficient observer. And the only way to do that is making long-term systematic observations of an object.
And free is good.
Pardon me?
Free is good. There's no extra charge for this program.
There's no charge. The handbook that we use for it is a PDF file. When you sign up for the training program, I'll send you a link for the handbook. You can print it out on your own if you want the hard copy. You might have to buy some drawing pencils and drawing tools and things like that. But all of the observing forms are available in the training program. So everything you need to know, and it's through the mail. It's not. I've tried doing a few students through the internet where they email me photographs or scans of their drawings. And I'd much rather have hard copies still. So it's a mail. So with everybody that sends an observation, I always ask for a self-addressed stamped envelope so I can evaluate their observation and send it back to them. Currently, we have 3 active students in the program, and they're all progressing along very well. I have one that possibly can graduate with this next set of observations. I'm just waiting for him to submit those. But yeah, training program is great. I went through it in the 70s. Matt Will, who's our secretary treasurer, we went through it together at the same time. And we did not know each other at the time, but we've come to know each other very well since then. And during my time in the training program, it took me 2 years, and I made over 200 observations and drawings of a crater on the moon, one single crater. And during that time, I saw my own evolution of observing. It's not about drawing skill. It's about learning to draw what you see. And accuracy is the most important thing. And that's what I focus on in the training program. I don't grade you on your artistic ability. I grade you on representing what you see it through the eyepiece. And some days you'll have great seeing, some days you'll have poor seeing, and that should be reflected in your observations. But that's the nutshell of the training program.
How to determine seeing conditions, how to determine transparency conditions of the atmosphere.
Right.
So those are just some of the stuff. How to determine, the dreaded universal time calculation.
Right. How to calculate UT. Those are all important things you need to do. Magnification, if you don't know how to figure out magnification, that's all part of the training program. So these are things, and then we also get in a lot of color filters for planetary observing. What type of filters do you want to use with Jupiter, Saturn, Mars? Yeah. So, and how they affect the observation.
The side benefit, and I say this kind of tongue in cheek, is as you become a better observer and you're really good at discerning fine details, that can really help you out in everyday life when you want to really get the license plate. Try to just cut you off.
There you go. Okay.
One more thing is we mentioned earlier that you've got to be an ALPO member to actually do a presentation. Well, we're only talking about an annual membership of $18, and that gets you 4 issues of our very highly prized quarterly journal. Plus, you're a member of the ALPO. You can, of course, purchase multi-year memberships, but $18. And the ALPO, as far as I know, is probably near the bottom of the barrel as far as our dues structure goes. Mm-hmm. We have higher levels of membership, but for $18, it's not a big price to pay.
It's not. It's a couple cups of coffee.
Yeah, or less than a tank of gas.
It's it's about 2 gallons of gas in here in California. So it's I paid $6.49 a gallon the other day. So
oh boy,
yeah.
As we tape this in the beginning of June.
Yeah. Well, they're expecting gas prices in California to top out at $7 a gallon in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, along with the conference, following the keynote speech by Chuck Wood, we're going to have some door prizes, and we're still collecting them. We currently have 2, both of them very nice eyepieces from Celestron. We have an Ultima Edge 10 millimeter flat field 60 degree eyepiece, and we also have an Celestron Ultima Edge 18 millimeter flat field 65 degree eyepiece. So these are very nice, pricey eyepieces that Celestron has donated, and we're also looking for a couple more from other vendors. So the way you are eligible for that is you send me an email and say you want to be a part of the conference, and once I get that email, then you get your email address gets added into the hopper for selecting the door prizes for the conference. Unfortunately, door prizes are only available to those people that live in the continental United States. So we can't ship.
Alaska and Hawaii, though, doesn't it?
Pardon me?
Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico included?
They're included, yes.
Okay.
Yes, but we cannot ship internationally. There's all sorts of different issues with that. We tried in the past. Yes. And it costs more than the actual product. So
yeah.
So, but if you want to be eligible for a door prize, send me an email. I will give you my email now. It's cometman@cometman.net. But like I said earlier, all of this information, all the website and Zoom and our YouTube channel is in the show notes below.
Very good. For those of you who would like to get a taste of what our journal looks like, to see if it is something that you want to participate in, go to our website, which is ALPO alps-astronomy.org. And near the upper right corner of that screen, you'll see a link called Section Galleries. And click on that and look for Publications section. And within that page, you'll see ALPO journals. And we have online everything going back to issue 1 back in 1947, all the way through, I think, 2020, I think is the latest issues we have posted online. We don't post the most recent journals online because we believe that if you're paying dues, one of the benefits of your membership is to get the journal yourself. And after a year goes by, we then post those journals online for the world to have as well.
And the journal, from the time I first joined the ALPO in early 70s to now, it's quite the publication. I mean, I think we had a recent issue that was over 100 pages. So it's been...
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound happy with that, don't you?
Yeah. But it's, this, I'm the editor and publisher of the journal. Well, I'm the publisher now. And I've just wrapped up the next issue, which is going to be probably posted in the coming days. That'll be probably June 9th or 10th or so. And the hard copies will be in the mailboxes probably by the very first part of July. And this is another one of those 96-page issues. Our page count exceeds that of Sky and Telescope.
Oh, my.
It's a very valued advertiser, by the way, as well as Celestron is a very valued advertiser in our journal as well. And we also have another advertiser that they do a cat's perch observing chair for you to sit on. Mm-hmm. And they also have a really great accessory case, handmade wooden eyepiece case and accessory case. So, take a look.
Very good. Very good. Do you have anything else to add on the conference there, Ken?
Sign up now.
Yep. Contact me. And like I said, I have 3 spots available. If you have a topic out there, an interest, a project you're working on, and you think it might be interesting to share with the masses, now's your time. Also, following the conference, both days of the conference will be archived and saved and available at any time on our YouTube channel. The past 2-year conferences are also on our YouTube channel right now. If you want to go back and peruse what the conferences were like in the past, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So this is forever. We're going to have these conferences online.
Yeah.
All right. Well, at that, I want to thank you for coming on, Ken, and discussing the upcoming conference.
And I invite everybody out there to contact Tim. If you've got any ideas for future podcasts, let them know.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm doing 2 today. So,
wow.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ken.
Glad to help.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. Again, I want to thank Ken Poshedly for coming on the podcast and joining me in a discussion about this upcoming 2022 ALPO Virtual Conference. Please sign up and attend. Please decide to give a paper. We need you, and we want your attendance. We upload new episodes of the Observer's Notebook every few weeks, specifically on the 1st and 15th of every month. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. If you do, please rate and review us. I really appreciate it. We're also available on Apple Radio, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Google Play, Stitcher, Amazon Echo, Spotify, and also on the ALPO YouTube channel. You can help support the podcast by donating to it via Patreon, where you can give up to $35 a month, where you will receive 1 year's membership to the ALPO and producer credits on the podcast. With that, I want to thank producers of this podcast, Steve Seidentop and Michael Moyer, for their generous support of the Observer's Notebook. The link for Patreon as well as link for the ALPO is in the show notes. You can contact me via email at cometman@cometman.net or on Twitter at observersnbpod. And until next time, my hopes that you always have clear and steady skies. Thanks for listening.